All right, welcome in to Friday Night Lights overtime, even though we're still dealing with some weather and games are still going on. So it's not actually overtime just yet. I'm Chelsie Brown alongside Jack Lido this week. Jack, let's talk about the weather. We lucked out. Our games were not delayed, postponed, but talking with everyone in the newsroom, seems like that was the case with a lot of others.
Yeah, the Johnson County games, a lot of them were kind of stopped at halftime. At least that was the case with my game.
Okay.
But then it worked out perfectly. Halftime's about 20 minutes. There was about a 20 or 30-minute lightning delay, and then we're good. Cedar Rapids, Marion, that kind of metro area, everything got a little bit delayed, but it's week one. Things are going to happen. There will be some road bumps, but high school football is glorious no matter what the weather looks like.
Yeah, and we're not talking about like a 15-minute, 30-minute. We're talking about more than hours delay. So props to the fans that are still maybe there at the games and everyone that was safe while they kind of dealt with the weather delay. But let's go ahead and start with just some scores of some games that we did not get to around the area. Jack, take it away.
Well, the game that unfortunately is not working out for us that stood out to me was Regina and Wilton. I will tell you that score was 42-20. Regina taking down Wilton on the road. That was a playoff rematch. Anything else standing out to me? Perhaps it's West Delaware just putting the hurting on Marion. West Delaware is just a constantly good team. They're just trying to break through the ceiling of great. Anything stand out to you, Chelsie Brown?
The Williamsburg 44-0. I mean, that's two former Hawkeyes, right, going against each other, right?
That's true. Marvin
Austin
McNutt
Blythe
and Austin
now
Blythe,
leading Williamsburg,
the coaches.
and then McNutt over at Keokuk. That's a fun little storyline with that game. Didn't expect that final score. And then Kennedy obviously opens up with the win over Dubuque Hempstead. That's a big score for them. I mean, that's good news.
Yeah, they're really trying to bounce back after an above 500 season last year for the Cougars, but that's not good enough for Brian White and crew.
And good for the West Branch, too, to get that win to start the season as well. But that's about it. Yeah,
no surprise for Northland getting a win on the road.
No, we're going to move to the games that we were actually at today. We'll start with yours, Jack. Iowa City, Liberty, Cedar Falls. Liberty gets the 15-14 victory. I thought there would be a lot more offense. Yeah, I was wrong.
This Liberty team has scored in bunches, but Cedar Falls kind of shuts them down. The first score came in the second quarter on this drive. They pull out the double pass, one pass to the wide receiver, then he goes to Leo. That's Pryor Reiner's passing to Leo Riz for the first down, and then eventually they get into the end zone. That's Reese Reddig, the quarterback, who they list at 5'10". Chelsie, he's not 5'10". I don't know how tall he is. He's not 5'10".
He's a stud, though. He's solid.
And on the other side, you got a quarterback in Leighton Wolf, who's listed at 6'7" for Cedar Falls. Wow. He hands it off to Aiden Morsfelder, and he's in for the touchdown. At the end of the first half, here's this Reddig pass that just kind of gets away from him. But the story of this game was late in the second half, Liberty comes back from down 14-7. They score a touchdown, and they go for two. That's just trust in your quarterback. There's a couple of senior leaders back and forth under center, but I think if you're Reddick, it doesn't matter how tall you are, how fast you are. Reese Reddick's got a great head on his shoulders. In the clutch time situations, that's going to serve him well throughout the year and possibly come playoff time, because that's exactly where the Bolts are looking to go to next.
I mean, Reddick's just an overall athlete, too, and he's already got a year under his belt. They're coming off their best season in school history. So it doesn't surprise me, but I mean, I do think we were saying this earlier, too, in our show, that these are probably two playoff teams, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think Cedar Falls, you saw it on their offensive line and their defensive line. They got a few really good linebackers. It felt like there was a different guy making a big hit at the line of scrimmage every play in the first quarter. Yeah. Obviously, eventually Liberty found their rhythm. I think you have to remember, Liberty went to the Final Four last year. If you're Cedar Falls, you cannot hang your head losing to that team by 2. The Tigers got the ball back. They had it in Liberty territory with a chance to kick a field goal and win. They just ran out of time. Both teams, I think, are going to be playoff teams. Hopefully one of them represents, or one of the other Cedar Rapids or other 5A teams represents Eastern Iowa in the Dome. As you know, that's a Central Iowa party over there in 5A in the Unidome.
Yeah, we need some Eastern Iowa love in there. All right, moving to our game of the week, the one that was on our channel, KCRG. That was the good old battle for the boot between Iowa City West and City High. Colin Davies was on the call with Lou Montgomery on this one. I didn't expect this final score, 30-zip. West wins this one. It just seems like they had an answer for everything, and both sides of the ball, as you can see there with that interception. Obviously, we know they have talented players on both sides of the ball, but they both were replacing quarterbacks, senior quarterbacks from last year. You got the Jack Wallace and then the Bacon, you know. So, I mean, I was shocked to see this City High off the board in this one.
Yeah, I was shocked to see it as well. I think West just kind of leaned on their talent, and the quarterbacks, they did what they had to do. West, they handed it to Julian Manson. Might be the best player in Iowa. There's number 3 in white. He's fantastic. I think if you're West, you continue to do that throughout the year, and then eventually, once quarterback finds his rhythm a little bit more, you'll be obviously leaning more on the quarterback. But if you can win a game 30-0 against your rivals on the road without having to lean super heavily on your quarterback, I think that's a really good sign for West, a team that had not beaten City High in 4 years. Those guys from City High who were seniors last year, they beat West all 4 years, and I know they were happy about it. So, man, these Trojans have to feel good about maybe this maybe could be the best football rivalry in Eastern Iowa.
It's very fun, obviously, that iconic trophy as well. But Colin Davies did catch up with both Iowa City West coach Garrett Hartwig and then the Iowa commit we were just talking about at linebacker Juju Manson. Here's his interview.
Coach, what a tremendous win you had tonight. What did you do at halftime to really kind of keep the momentum going with your players?
Well, we got back to, just reminding our old line who they are and running the ball. And we came out and, we were able to do that on the first drive, and I think that set the tone for the second half.
Yeah, and what about this win? I mean, certainly it sets the tone for your program. I mean, you haven't won it in a few years now. So what does this say about your program and the direction you're going?
We've been right there. I mean, we were a quarterfinal team last year. And it was the most intense game in this rivalry I've been a part of in 17 years last year. So we knew, that's the way games go, and we knew we were right there. Put the work in this summer and certainly over the winter and spring, and we're happy to pay it off for the seniors tonight. But it's game one. We got 8 more to go, and we need to make improvements for sure.
How do you build on this momentum? I mean, your team is so excited right now, and you got a lot of momentum. Game one. How do you build on this to continue this tenacity that you got going on with your team?
Well, I'll let them ride sky high tonight as a team, and then tomorrow morning, we got a group of guys that are going to play in another game that they need to get reps, and really it's coming back to earth. And nobody in the state qualified for the playoffs tonight. And that's our goal is to win in the playoffs and host playoff games. Win the last one of the season. Every program has those goals, and so it's just kind of a reset. And biggest jump a team makes is week 1 to 2, and we need to make some jumps because we weren't perfect by any means tonight.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Coach, good luck the rest of the season. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Winning a rivalry game like this, how sweet is this?
It's pretty good, pretty big. First game rivalry. We come get the boot back. We haven't had it for 4 years, so it's just a great experience, especially for our seniors.
And this is a team that had lost, this school had lost 4 straight.
Yeah.
To be able to come back and snap that streak, did you guys come into this with a little bit of extra motivation?
A bit of extra motivation. It was more about us than it was about them. Definitely, we blocked out all the extra outside noise and extra stuff, and we just focused on us, and we just got the job done.
And to come out in week 1, most teams just want to get out with a win and be able to go in the next week. You guys came out and you won 30-0. What did you see from this team in this game?
Well, we expected more. Honestly, we wanted to go out by 50, and we always want to have a shutout, especially on defense. We want to get back onto where we were defensively and just getting stops for sure.
And you scored a touchdown in the first half. Take me through that touchdown. A little bit Wildcat, right?
Yeah, a little bit Wildcat. We just installed that, and I was a little nervous, but then I just do what I do. So it was trust my blockers and everything, and just get the job done.
And it seemed like you guys put up 30 points, but it really seemed like it started with this defense.
Yes, sir.
What can you say about this defensive unit?
Yes, sir. We just had a little chip on our shoulder to go in just from last year. Our offense looked pretty good. We had to tighten down on defense, especially at our linebacker position. So we took that personal. We just wanted to have a shout out today, and that's what we did.
And obviously, you're a player that the coach wants to get on the field as much as possible. But to be able to sit back when you're up 30-0 on the sideline, may not have to get all those reps in game 1. What's that like for a player, obviously as dominant as you are, man?
Yes, sir. It's beautiful. It shows that we have depth at every position. That any position we trust that we can go in and make plays, in which we did at usually receiver, linebacker, running back, everything. We trust our guys.
And offensively, it seemed like it was all about the running game. You know, we saw Campbell Janis really start get going, especially in that second half, that first drive coming out. Yeah. How much do you pride yourselves on blocking, especially you come in and play tight end, right? Yes, how much does this unit pride itself on the offensive line and that run blocking?
Yes, sir. I think we have one of the best O-line core in the nation. And then our tight ends, we can block me, Ethan Headings, Graham Tyler, and Neil James. We can block, so we're going to get the job done. We're going to run that ball.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Congrats on the big rivalry win.
All right. Well, you heard from Coach Hartwig, obviously. Still things to clean up. It's week 1. What do you think Coach Moore is saying to his Little Hawks?
Hey, look, Coach Moore is probably saying in his head, we're never going to play another Juju Manson again, and thank God for that. But you still got to be better. Coach Moore is saying we still got to be better at the line of scrimmage. City High is a team that if they're going to win, they're going to have to win starting at the offensive line and defensive line. That's where you create your push. Mitch Moore is not going to be satisfied with the way his team was pushed around tonight.
Yep. Moving on to Clear Creek Amana, who faced Davenport West. I was there tonight, quite honestly, for 30 minutes. I mean, Clear Creek Amana just handled this. From the opening kickoff right there, you see the little switcheroo in the backfield. And then obviously is Tay Seals down the sideline. I mean, this CCA just controlled this game literally from the opening kickoff. They have so many offensive weapons. Their defense was doing the same. I think coming up here, you'll have the interception here. They were fired up, as they should be for week 1. And it just seemed like they were doing everything right. I think the student section and the fans know that they have a special group this season. And, I mean, they've just gotten progressively better. Coach Peterson, obviously, in his second year, too. There's a little bit more of a comfortability level after you have, you know, your first year with a first-year head coach. And, I mean, obviously, Peterson knows what he's doing. But, yeah, the Clippers just took this one and ran with it.
Yeah, this is a team that can really out-physical you at the line of scrimmage. That guy, Ethan Weiss, I saw him in a scrimmage game. Obviously, the game didn't count, but he was big, strong, and fast, hit the hole hard. So I'm really excited to see what CCA can do against maybe better competition than Davenport West. Tay Seals, #1 in blue. Oh my goodness, we were at the state track meet last spring and we saw him break the 3A record in the 110 high hurdles. He's listed at about 145 pounds and he's like 5'9", but if you could get the ball in his hands with space, bye-bye. See you later. He's gone.
Yeah, Weiss and Niels, they seem like a really good duo in the backfield there. So it'll be exciting to see what they do this season. All right, and then where are we headed? Solon? Yes, Solon and Davenport Assumption. We're not sure where this one is right now, but at last checked, Solon was leading 29-18 in the fourth quarter. They, too, like you just saw, kind of dealt with the weather delay there. Solon's always a good team.
Yeah, I call them the measuring stick, or they are the bouncer in terms of Iowa high school football, because if you can't get past Solon, you probably can't get into the club. But if you can, that means, okay, you're in the club. You can play some ball. And Solon constantly is good. There's their quarterback, Eli Campman, our guy who played wide receiver last season. He's playing QB, and he looked really solid. Marlon Hall shooting these great highlights for us. Solon, they've got a lot that they bring back. They do lose their quarterback, but they get a really strong veteran who's been on the field a lot in Eli Campman. The question is about their running game. Is Eddie Johnson, there's a senior from last year, he's gone, but it looks like they're able to throw the ball tonight against Assumption. Certainly not a bad team in Assumption.
No.
And next week, you ready for this? Solon, Williamsburg on KCRG 9.2. Both those, this game is not a final, but it appears that Solon's going to win big. I'm very excited because I know a certain someone calling that game on KCRG 9.2. I'm very, very excited for it.
Are you talking about yourself?
I am talking about myself.
Why don't you just
I wish
say
the camera
that?
could have seen the way you just look like, oh my God, like Jim from The Office. Like, This guy.
And do you know who you're calling it with?
Sweet Lou Montgomery.
Oh, Sweet Lou's going to be back. Good. We also have this matchup in Dubuque we want to get to. It's Dubuque-Wahlert at West Dub. This is the first time we've actually seen these highlights. But obviously, Wahlert, the defending champs, this one, they were on the road for this one. They exchanged some turnovers, but then obviously J.P. Elbert got it to Anderson there for the score. Wahlert controlled the pace of this game really in the second quarter before the Bobcats drove down the field. They answered with a touchdown before the half. Kind of a sloppy game, though, looking at these highlights just a little bit. But the defense, they've always had pretty good defenses. Golden Eagles, they do win this opener, 10-6 on the road, which is good for this team who graduated so many seniors from that state championship team. I mean, we're talking so many seniors. And that's just, the leadership, but at the same time, you have the culture. They're trying to build on that culture from last year. It was a big deal, though, when Wahlert obviously won the state championship last year, first in school history, so they have a target on their back. And this is a fun one, just being crosstown.
Yeah, and West Dub has nothing to hang their heads about, 10-6. Obviously, I think both teams are going to take a look at the film because 10-6 is not a score really either team is looking forward to. We'll focus a little bit on Wahlert more because they win. J.P. Elbert didn't play a ton last year. He took a few snaps on obvious passing downs last season. Now he's the full-time starter, and I think as long as he doesn't throw too many interceptions and holds onto the ball, I think he's good handing it over to his defense where they have a lot more returning starters, led by Will Welbus, who I talked with for a preseason story I did. He's a really solid Mike linebacker for the Golden Eagles. I don't know if they have the same talent as they did last year, but Coach Jamie Marshall is kind of establishing culture, which carries over year to year.
You bet. Done with high school, let's talk some college before we go. Iowa tomorrow. Mark Gronowski obviously making his debut against Albany. Don't think it's going to be a close one at all, but I think you're going to see what the offense can do putting their pieces together. Hopefully, I think you're going to see the offensive line and defensive line truly own the trenches in this one. I don't know how much you're going to actually learn about this Iowa team, and I don't mean to say that negatively about Albany, but it's just, it's different. It's just a different level.
Yeah, and you don't want to put too much on film because you got Iowa State in a couple weeks. For Gronowski, as you mentioned, I'm just looking for him to be on time, first down, second down, no interceptions, please, no fumbles.
Yeah,
if Iowa fans are thinking, please just get your chemistry with center Logan Jones down. And Gronowski doesn't need to be special. They don't need to pull out any crazy plays out of the playbook. Just on time, 3rd and 6, 2nd and 10. You're not going to be in those situations a ton. I think there will be a lot of 1st and 10s turning into another 1st and 10. But when you do get in those 3rd down situations, go through your reads. This Tim Lester offense is kind of a lot to process, but Gronowski's a smart guy, and I'm looking for him to do just that, process his reads quickly.
Clean football, no injuries. That would be the best result. Maybe a win, too, for Iowa. Iowa State, they are also at home. South Dakota. I mean, there's a little juice on South Dakota if you're their quarterback, who was a former Cyclone, now playing against his former team. He's obviously made that team a Final Four contender in the FCS, so that obviously speaks volumes to what he's done at that program. But if you're Iowa State, you're coming off the long travel, you're bouncing back and everything. I think the biggest question will be how do they bounce back, and what do they kind of put up against this tough South Dakota team?
Yeah, if I'm Iowa State, or if I'm an Iowa State fan, I'm looking for them to score relatively early, maybe not necessarily first drive, but I don't want to see your team go into the locker room up 10-0 or 13-3. If you're an Iowa State fan, I'd like to be out of the first quarter up by 10, out of the second quarter up by 20. You need to basically turn the lights back on despite the ridiculous travel schedule. It's 7 days. It's really tough, and we've seen it with teams before. They come back from Ireland in the Ireland game, even if they win, and the season just kind of goes kaplooey. But if you're Matt Campbell has talked about talking with NFL teams about how they've made the trip, Germany, other have they played in Spain? I'm making that up.
No,
it's
the
Brazil. London.
Yep.
I'm just, let me just name another country. Yeah. So if I'm Iowa State, you've got your known quantities. Rocco Becht, known quantity. Those linebackers, defensive linemen, known quantities. What you're not sure about is how are you going to get up after kind of an emotional rivalry win across the pond against Kansas State. And it's sandwiched in between another emotional game against Iowa.
Yeah. If you're comparing Iowa State's going to have to do a little bit more this week. Both sold out games for the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones, which is great. And then up north, UNI obviously opening up their season against Butler. Todd Stepsis' first game. I think Panther fans and the team would love to come out on top of the win. I think the most interesting thing about the Panthers is the fact that they retained a lot of their players. A lot of the seniors decided to stick around and see what Coach Stepsis is all about. I think that speaks volumes for maybe what he said to his players when he walked on and kind of took the job. Would love nothing more than to see them get their first win, just get it out of the way. But, I mean, Butler is not an easy test.
Yeah, no slouch. I think the buy-in has been so impressive. Todd Stepsis is just an impressive guy. People from Des Moines to here in Iowa like him because he used to coach at Drake. UNI, I'm looking at quarterback. I'm looking at Matthew Sheckelman, a guy who didn't win the job last year, stuck around and went out and won the job. You don't see that very often in college football with the transfer portal. A lot of guys say, you know what, I only have 4 years to do this. I want to go out and start, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it speaks a lot to Sheckelman, who's not an Iowa guy. He's from Wisconsin, to stick around and want to play for Todd Stepsis, want to win that job.
You bet. Well, we're done talking football for this week. We'll talk again more football tomorrow. But until then, we'll see you next week for another edition of Friday Night Lights End Zone